Hello, my fearless seekers. Welcome into today's Pick a Card Tarot reading, all about self-confidence. While you might feel confident on the outside and in your expression, on the inside you might be overthinking what you've said or done for long periods of time. You might perform to please, or you feel great when things go right, but unravel when things go sideways. Maybe you rely too much on the validations of others to feel confident in yourself. This was actually inspired by a TED Talk by Maya Ratura. She's a mental fitness and visualization coach. I will link a link to one of her videos in the description if you're interested in learning more about her and building your self-confidence. But for now, allow this reading to be a space for reflection, confirmation, and a moment to reconnect to your inner knowing. The messages today will share possibilities, not conclusions, so please use your discernment, take what resonates, and leave what does not. There are 3 soul paths for you to choose from. Pick one or all 3. The timestamps and any links you'd like to explore are in the description box. Let's get into your messages. Hello, my soul path 1. Welcome in. You chose the yellow or the orange calcite stone. Let's get into your messages today. We're going to get 3 cards and look at the bottom of the deck. The first one is your self-image, maybe how you see yourself or how you outsource your self-confidence. Again, this was inspired by Maya Ratura. She's a mental fitness and visualization coach. Speaking of self-confidence, we have the Strength in reverse as your first card out. So on the outside, you might be expressive, you might feel confident, but on the inside, it might be a different story. There might be a lot of inner critic. There might be a lot of impulsive reactions that happen that you might be holding back. There could be some overthinking, or just some lower energies, maybe some stress responses or panic responses that happen on the inside that you don't show. There's something here to be looked at in more depth as it pertains to your self-confidence and how you see yourself, both internally and externally, and how those 2 things are living in opposition, or are they living in parallel? So we have the Page of Swords in reverse, and we'll get one more on the table here. And if you want to find Maya Ratura's content, I'll leave a link for her stuff in the description, along with my Patreon page if you'd like to have another space to reflect on these kind of topics every month. Okay. So we already talked about the Strength in reverse and confident on the outside, where you are being expressive, you are being who you are and who you would like to be. So there's this external confidence that's happening, but on the inside, it might be a very different story. You might be feeling like you're lacking confidence, or being seen, being visible, expressing in some way feels very vulnerable. It might trigger some stress or some panic or an internal critic that kind of gets out of hand. So there's an opposition happening between the internal self-image of how you see yourself and how you feel internally as it pertains to your confidence, and an external expression. And I feel like those things might be very different. So that's something to explore there. Now, the Page of Swords in reverse is self-trust. The promises to make to yourself. And again, that inner critic is coming through. And maybe there are certain things that you tell yourself that are untrue, but feel true. Maybe it's not even your truth. Maybe it's someone else's truth that was impressed upon you at a young age. So again, I feel a lot of inner critic. I feel a lot of internal communication is happening here, which is eroding your self-trust, eroding your ability to trust your ideas, to trust your decisions, to trust what you have communicated, said, shared, expressed. So the promise that you can possibly explore in making to yourself right now, which will help you build more self-trust, is to find a way to quiet the inner critic, to not give it so much power, to allow yourself and give yourself permission to make mistakes. Allow yourself to learn without being perfect. Allow every mistake to be a learning opportunity, and not to stop yourself before you start, not to filter yourself too much, not to perfect your expression. Now, how to detach from your outcomes, and this is what else you can celebrate, or how to build your relationship to effort is, and when I say build your relationship to effort, that is not leaning on the external result as a measure of your worth or your success. So I feel like you have worked really hard at proving your skill, your talent, your value, your worth. And I feel like part of how to detach from the outcome here is to celebrate your effort, even if it's small. You don't have to exhaust yourself to be successful. You don't have to hustle and burn out to prove that you've done the work. So I feel like there's a lot of work and responsibility that you have put on yourself because you feel that is a measure of success or a measure of whether or not you will succeed. So adjusting your relationship to what effort you put in, how much effort you put in, and where you're putting those efforts as well. So really defining whether or not the efforts that you're putting in are focused, are intentional, or is it busy work? Is there a lot of busy work going on so that you can prove your worth and prove your value and prove that you are good enough? So there's something about proving yourself here that may need to be reevaluated, not attaching yourself to this idea that you have to push in order to prove. And bottom of the deck is the 8 of Swords. And I feel like wherever you are in this moment, I feel like you're trying to push through a block, and it's more of a mental block than anything. So it's not going to be doing more, learning something more. It's learning about your mindset here, learning about how your inner critic, how you speak to yourself, what stories are you believing to be true about yourself or your efforts, about your confidence, your abilities, and what needs to change in order for you to move forward, specifically as it pertains to this Page of Swords in reverse, because it is also a sword, but also the 8 of Swords is underneath this. So look at the ways in which you keep yourself stuck by telling yourself stories that are untrue or suppressing the truth so that you stay stuck, stay burned out, stay in this place that feels safe but may not be healthy. So there's a vulnerability that you might need to step into or step towards in order to break through that mental pattern, that mental loop that might feel big, but in actuality, it's all about taking those small actions forward that is going to help you. Again, coming back to the self-trust and the promises that you can make to yourself right now about moving forward in spite of the imperfections, moving forward and allowing yourself to learn and make mistakes and learning from those mistakes. That is going to help you move forward, moving towards self-trust, moving towards your goals, moving towards that self-confidence. So that is today's reflection, my dear Soul Path 1. If something stirred for you, drop a note in the comments. I'd love to hear. And for deeper reflections, guided worksheets, and a gentle space to integrate at your own pace, consider joining my Patreon community where insights become lived transformative action. Remember, you're not waiting for your future. You're here right now creating it. I'll see you in the next one. Hello, my dear Soul Path 2. You chose the red selenite stone. We're going to hop straight into your reading today. This reading was inspired by Maya Ratura. She's a mental fitness and visualization coach. I'll leave a link to one of her videos in the description, along with my Patreon page if you are wanting deeper reflections on topics like this. So let's get into it. We'll pull 3 cards, look at the bottom of the deck, And let's see what the cards have in store for you today. Soul Path 2. Okay. So we have the Empress in reverse. We have the Fool and the Six of Cups with the Five of Cups at the bottom of the deck. So in position 1 here, we have your self-image, how you see yourself or how you outsource your self-confidence. And that's the Empress in reverse. Now, the Empress is about growth. It's about aligning to your values. It's about abundance and feeling worthy of that abundance, but also nurturing something with patience. So part of your self-image may be wrapped up in helping others grow, nurturing others, but there's a lack of doing that for yourself here. So explore how that might show up for you, how you might outsource it as it pertains to growth, nurturing, mothering, and how you might do that for yourself. So there could be a lot of giving, but not a lot of receiving. How do you receive? How do you welcome? How do you care for self? And why? There could be a self-image there that is telling you that you have to work hard before you can take care of yourself, or you have to take care of others before you take care of yourself. There could be this lack, like I don't have enough or I am not enough, so I have to go into the external world to find that worth, to find that abundance. And that is not a bad thing, but how much are you doing that? And are you relying too much on that external to feel worthy, to feel love, to feel abundant? So self-trust, promises to make to yourself. We have the Fool card. And that is a freedom. There's a freedom in that. There's a freedom of expression. There's a childlike energy. And maybe even nurturing your inner child. So there could be an inner child that wants to feel free, that wants to feel loved, that wants to express fully without rules, without abandon. And there's something new that maybe you need to explore here. The Fool is all about possibilities. It is the seed of possibility, staying open to those possibilities and not closing yourself off. So one of the promises that you might consider making to yourself right now is, what are some other possibilities that I'm not exploring? What are some of the new things, new territories, maybe even some discomfort zones that I can dip my toe into to kind of challenge this idea that I have, this belief that I have, this lack of confidence that I might have? How might I be able to challenge that in new ways or push the boundaries there a little bit? And how can I stay open, like having a child's mind in this process, allowing yourself to make mistakes with an open mind, with an open heart, and not allowing the obstacles or the blocks to get in your way? So how to detach from your outcomes here. The Six of Cups, it's a nostalgia card. And I feel there's something about your inner child that needs a little bit more love here, that needs possibly some attention, possibly some nurturing. So this isn't about kind of looking for that external validation or looking for a specific outcome as it relates to whatever it is you're trying to achieve. To help you build more self-confidence, it's going to be about building your relationship with your inner child, and the inner child that wants to play, that wants to explore and get curious about what else there is. So there's a stuckness with this Empress here, and there's such freedom and play that come along with the Fool and the Six of Cups here. So I feel like part of your guidance to build a relationship to effort is how much fun you're having in your efforts. How much fun are you having in your day-to-day, in your career, in your overall personal life, and within your relationships? And that will help you detach from the outcomes that you might be seeking. That playfulness, that joy, that childlike joy will help you move towards those outcomes that you're seeking. So rather than focusing on those outcomes, how can you measure your success or celebrate how much fun you're having? And bottom of the deck is the Five of Cups, which is a challenging emotional card. Now, fives while they're challenging and can speak to change, they are that middle point of the story where things get darkest before the dawn and you can move forward again with the sixes. So there could be an underlying sense of grief that you're moving through that needs to be processed. So it's not about living in that grief and having that grief define your life, and that could be regret as well. If you're thinking about things that you wanted to see success with but didn't see success with, it's kind of looking at those things and understanding, well, maybe I couldn't do it, but I still have opportunity to continue to try. So it's accepting what is and what no longer can be, and moving forward towards the opportunities when the time is right, opening yourself up again, rather than staying focused on the things that cannot change, especially relating to the past. So this might be part of your stuck energy and maybe why there is a lack of self-confidence, because there could be some regrets of things you've done in the past. There could be some emotional things that you're trying to process and understand and accept. So that could be the first pillar in this self-confidence journey, is to be okay and to accept the things that have gone sideways, but understanding what you've learned from it. So trying to see the other side of that coin, and again, opening yourself up to the new possibilities that are available to you because you've understood something, because you've made those mistakes. How can you transmute those things into something beneficial, into a new experience? Understanding that it's okay to fail, allowing yourself to grow through those failures, rather than making those failures define who you are and where you go. That the failure doesn't have meaning unless you give it meaning. So that is the reflection for today. Soul Path 2, if something stirred for you, drop a note in the comments. I'd love to hear. And for deeper reflections, guided worksheets, and a gentle space to integrate at your own pace, consider joining my Patreon community where insights become lived transformative action. Remember, you're not waiting for your future, you're here right now creating it. I'll see you in the next video. Hello, Soul Path 3, welcome in. You chose the BC Jade, and we're going to hop straight into your reading today. And this tarot reading was inspired by Maya Ratura. She's a mental fitness and visualization coach. I'll leave a link to her stuff in the description, along with my Patreon page if you'd like deeper reflections on topics like this. Okay, so we're going to get 3 cards out on the table regarding Soul Path 3 and their self-confidence journey, how to build more self-confidence. And then we will talk about it. Lots of reversals here. Knight of Swords at the bottom of the deck there, with Judgment in reverse, Empress in reverse, and the Page of Pentacles in reverse. Okay. So Judgment in reverse is in the position of how you might outsource your self-image, or maybe how you see yourself. There's a sense of lack of forgiveness, maybe for the things that went wrong, maybe for mistakes you've made, maybe for who you thought you wanted to be or wanted to become and aren't. So there could be a lot of self-judgment or inner critic going on here that is keeping you stuck and preventing you from maybe following some passion at the moment. So because of that, you're not feeling confident in moving towards a higher expression or moving towards a calling that you're genuinely passionate and excited about exploring. I almost feel like you have a lot of imposter syndrome. Who am I to do this thing? And so you're downplaying your gifts, your talents, your skills, your abilities, and your potential because you're not forgiving yourself for something from the past. I feel like this is your Phoenix Rising moment, and that is what the Judgment is. There's an opportunity here to move beyond that story, that belief that maybe you've carried for a long time, or move past the regrets or the mistakes that you have carried so deeply and have used to identify who you are. So in the position of self-trust and the promises to make to yourself is the Empress in reverse. I kind of love that because it's about allowing yourself to grow through the challenge, through the change, through the stuff that may be difficult to face, the self-forgiveness, the self-love, the things that you didn't achieve and wanted to achieve. And it's giving yourself the love that you've needed, that you deserve. There's something about aligning yourself to your true values. So I feel like there's a value here that you want to lean into, that you want to move towards, that you feel is important to you. But whatever this judgment or this story it's happening, it's preventing you from moving in that direction. I want to say that there's a misalignment here, or there's a desire, but also a fear that exists at the same time. So giving yourself permission to align to that value or to that goal or to that purpose a little bit more. That doesn't necessarily have to be big, huge steps. This can be the little things that you do in your day-to-day. So promising to nurture yourself a little bit more, promising to nurture what's important to you a little bit more, not allowing the old stories or the old impressions of what other people thought of you back then to affect how you take action, how you change, how you grow. Allowing yourself to expand, giving yourself patience and grace in that process. So how to detach from outcomes, untie your worth from those outcomes, and focusing on what else to celebrate here. Page of Pentacles in reverse. This is not about defining your success on the money that you earn, about all of the things that you might be able to do to earn money. This is not also about how much you give to others as well. There's also something here about scattering your energy, scattering your time, scattering your resources. It almost feels like I have to do so many things because I don't trust the direction that I'm feeling is the strongest. So I get backup plans. So starting and stopping things or having multiple things on the go so that you can make sure that something will stick, that something will succeed. When it's just about focusing on the values, focusing on the thing that you're being called to the most or the strongest, those passions, that purpose. What is that purpose? Defining that purpose. And that is how you build that relationship to your effort rather than the outcome is, am I aligned? Am I really leaning into my values? Am I supporting myself in that effort? And really holding that integrity along the way. That is your measure of success. Not that you've made X amount of money, not that you have 5 businesses on the go, not that you are serving a whole bunch of people all at once. This is about serving that higher vision, that higher goal, that higher self-expression. And bottom of the deck is the Knight of Swords. This is about really getting clear on your direction and just going for it, rather than thinking and contemplating and overthinking and doubting yourself, doubting your intuition. When the Empress is in reverse, it can speak to a lack of patience, so that impulsivity is coming through, but that may also be required. So it's not a time to really sit on the fence and think and overthink and strategize and over-strategize. This is about starting to take that action in the right direction, towards that purpose, towards the values, towards the goals, and not trying to do a whole bunch of things in the hopes that you might get there. This is about getting really clear and focused on what do you want to do, why do you want to do it, and how can you start moving in that direction. Cutting everything else out that's going to be a distraction to that is going to erode that sense of self-trust along the way. It's about trusting what you've already decided. Listening if there's something that needs to be adapted or changed, but not changing direction because this inner critic said so. So not giving it as much weight. And that also might mean that you have to find other ways to support yourself while you build out this particular thing. so that you can focus and explore that new path with a lot of clarity and giving yourself the room to explore, to experiment, to fail, to adjust, adapt unapologetically, without question, and taking your time in that process as well. So that's the reflection I have for you today, my dear Soul Path 3. If something stirred for you, drop a note in the comments. I'd love to hear. And for deeper reflections, guided worksheets, and a gentle space to integrate at your own pace, consider joining my Patreon community, where insights become lived transformative action. Remember, you're not waiting for your future. You're here right now creating it. I'll see you in the next one.